Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Gabby Reece Show. Elijah Allen-Blitz, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
When's the last time we taped a show?
I feel like it was a few months ago.
Really?
Maybe more?
Feels a long time for some reason.
It felt like, I feel like that one, we took a longer break in that, I think we only have done at least probably, I'd say one in the last 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my guesstimate.
You were single the last time we shot. Hey, it only takes a day, buddy.
You never know. You never know what's going to happen. Oh, shit.
Okay.
Just kicking it right off.
No, well, I'm not going to go there.
Oh, shit. I trust you.
No, it's great. I guess it's just a reminder. I think a lot of people are looking to, not everybody needs to be in a relationship or wants to be in a relationship, and that is totally fine. But I do think a lot of people in this day and age where we live so separated from one another are wondering, is first of all, the only way I'm going to find somebody through technology, through the dating app? Will I find somebody? Is it gotten so easy to physically meet but not connect? Will I ever be able to meet somebody? And listen, the thing is, I've been in a very long relationship. It'll be 30 years this year. It's always the unknown, which is great. That's how life is. So let's just say that part of this is all in the unknown. But you have met someone, and you met them in the wild.
Yeah. That's cool. It wasn't.
You met them through a friend.
Yeah.
Through Asian Angel, John too. John too. If you're ever in LA and you would like to be prayed over and beautifully enhanced your skin.
This is a special guy.
Okay, so I'm just going to share this with people, and then we're going to get right into the conversation.
All right.
You were putting the feelers out because you were like, I would like to meet somebody. And that's part of it, is putting yourself out there and asking the questions. And John too obviously meets a lot of people, and you put it out there, and he said, actually, there's this woman, and then you spoke with her and she was heading to the airport, and you made a very big move. I was like, whoa. And you said, okay, right, I'll take you to the airport.
I offered. I said, okay, let me drive you to the airport.
I mean, and you're together. Yeah. Let me tell you, if I met some guy 50% of the way there, I would have been like, just the fact that you offered to take me to the airport. No, but it's a big thing. Laird and I still try to pick each other up at the airport. Yeah. But I want to say that when I heard that, I was really, I'm going to use the word impressed, because a lot of times people say they want certain things, but they don't. They're either scared to put themselves out there, scared to ask somebody, or when the moment came, would have been too lazy. Like, oh, it's so far and there's traffic and I don't even know this girl. And you busted the move.
I mean, you know me, everything you just said is, persistence, priorities. Like, I'm very clear on those.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, if you're sort of in that place, like you go, hey, will I meet someone? I just want to encourage you. Ask people that you like, that you think swim in a pool of people that would be kind of people that you'd be interested in. Yeah. And then if the moment arises, even if it's a little inconvenient, don't let that get in your way.
Absolutely. Like you always say, it only takes one day, and it really only takes one moment.
I know.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I know it from the other side where you're just like, yeah. It's just like, no, but it really does. It's real, and that's for everything. That's for all aspects of life.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to jump into our technology conversation.
Cool. It's all a technology conversation.
You know what? If I have to think that this is all fake and the Truman Show and simulation.
It might even be weird.
Speaking of, I was with John too today, and I was saying, when he reminds me, like, we're not our bodies, we're our spirit.
Yeah.
It's so hard. You associate so much with your body. You look in the mirror, you're picking up things, you're criticizing your body, you're moving in your body. But I have to say, as somebody who really lives in the space of movement and eating and all these conversations all day long about the body, ultimately, I feel like I'm at a place where it's really because I'm just trying to find a way to house the spirit better.
Yeah.
Or access the spirit, or
Yes.
or focus on the spirit more than the body. So I was really happy to.
That's something for me. It's like, with my like a mission or calling in life to try and elevate consciousness, with storytelling and technology. It's like you almost have to start with addressing the body first. Like that is the portal. Because if you're feeling good, then you can start to address these other things. Where if you're feeling sick, you just want one thing, and that's to feel better. And that's the laser focus.
And that's it, right? It's to almost get the body out of the way.
Yeah.
We feel good enough. There has been a new thing I've been doing, because we did talk about that. Sometimes even pain or sickness, it's like body. It's very of man, of earth, is sometimes wondering, is that something in our spirit that's wounded, that's also showing up? And listen, I've seen it from all sides, even playing in athletics, right? I have a fake knee. It's like, I would say a lot of that was because I jumped. Mm-hmm. But I will say that there are things that I experience physically as aches and pains that I know is because I'm attaching so many things to it that are man's law versus, could I take a spiritual route? Yeah. Could I release myself from that suffering? And so it's a really interesting dance in between all those places.
It's interesting. It's so, because Byron Katie, she, during the schools, their 9-day schools, I never would talk about this exercises she does, but because she said, I don't think she's doing any more of those. Mm-hmm. I feel like I can say some of the things that are just incredible. One of them just is, to your point about the body, and we're not the body. One of the exercises is you go to your room by yourself and you take a paper bag and you put it over your head and you're totally naked. You look in the mirror, a full length mirror, and you write a letter to your body. So it's trying to get it as objective as possible, because by putting the paper bag over your head, you have little holes in it so you can see. But you just like look at your physical body and you're just like, you write this love letter basically to your body. And you're just like, thank you for being there for all the things and this and that, and like what you survived and what you went. It's cool. And to your point about, we are not the body, but the body still is this, whether at the vehicle for this on this journey.
And a hug is really nice.
Fuck yeah, sure.
Like I get to hug my girls, or when Lair gives me a hug, I'm like, oh, it's a nice way to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I call it like, the earth suit. I heard that someone say that and I always used it, but it doesn't mean that the earth suit isn't like highly wired into the operating system.
Right.
Or like the hug is amazing.
Right. And like even in movies, when they talk about the angels want to taste the food and hold hands, experience the breeze.
Right.
So
yeah, we get that.
So it's not to be coveted, but it's not to be abused or neglected.
With all things.
All right. So let's jump into technology. Right. For people who don't know, that we joke that this is sort of our counter time talk. You and I have gone round and round many times about technology. And I have to say in this conversation of you saying it's a tool and me going, watch out, I am leaning also more into what you've been saying, because I also, Naval Ravikant on All In. Yeah. Mo Gadot has certainly a different opinion about some of this. It's funny, he's really been coming out more often.
Mo's opinion is almost like totally changed in the last few interviews that I've heard. I know he's doing a lot, but yeah.
So I will say, I would like to admit, I've tried to pride myself on being willing to see it another person's way. And maybe half the fear is the unknown or the lack of confidence in human beings, where if like a couple people get the power, they'll just abuse the shit out of it. And we're all, good luck.
Yeah.
And I think, first of all, it's not going to move in certain ways as quick. But one thing I want to start off this conversation that actually Friedberg on All In said, of all the people, I can't believe I'm quoting what he said. He said that a lot of times when you have this growth opportunity, I'll make it simplify it. I'll never say it as smart as those guys. Money gets thrown at it. So the opportunities get funded and created. So those jobs get created long before the old infrastructure crumbles away.
Yeah.
And so, because a lot of people are afraid, like, oh, they're going to take the jobs, they're going to do this thing. It's like, yes, but before everything really disappears, the idea would be is that this next thing will be built.
Yep.
And so I really appreciated that comment. And to my practical thinking mind that also is very interested in humans and how technology is going to impact all of us, I thought, okay, that rings true for me.
Yeah. Freeberg also in that, it's so interesting you pointed that out because that resonated too. And he went on to say too that it was going to be creating stuff and solving answering questions that we have just not even thought of. Like, how do you build an underwater city? Or we're just it's stuff that we're just like, yeah, we can't do that. But with the AI, you know what? Let's see what it
Laird's
says.
face did light up a little bit because we were in the hyperbaric together. So, we listen to like what he wants to listen to one day. And then it's usually like, I'm like, oh, and then we listen to what I listen to and we were listening to that. And I did see the little glimmer in his eyes, like, maybe that's when I can live under the water,
Yes, exactly. That's right. And it's like, okay, look, what's an exoskeleton look like that allows me to, ride these waves like with multiple hip replacements or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I love that you pointed out that Freeberg thing because I heard it too.
Yeah. All right. So let's review what's happening. Before we get into that, I just want to kind of brush people up and remind them, because we think of AI as this one thing, but AI is being used commonly everywhere. Like, customer service and, streaming suggestions and smart assistants. So it's not just all this really giant stuff. It's used in big and small ways. But one way, and you brought it up, is diagnoses. Doctor diagnoses. You didn't see it coming, did you?
Well,
Not this early.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
So this was amazing. I read this study. It's out there. And you can Google it. It's real. They did a study where they had doctors diagnose a group of patients. Then they had it was all, I think, the same cohort of patients that the doctors. So one group of doctors diagnosed the patients. One group of doctors work with ChatGPT, I believe they used to diagnose the patients, and one group was just diagnosed by ChatGPT.
Oh, brother.
Guess who was by far head and tails above and beyond the winner?
The doctors with ChatGPT?
No.
Oh.
I know.
I was hoping.
I know. That's what I thought too. And this is what was so amazing about reading this thing. ChatGPT was by far the winner because the doctors, even working with the AI, still brought their biases into the situation. And that is something that is really special, especially when we start using these things to give us feedback on our unconscious biases, whatever those may be in any situation. Even if it's like, I've done it before with the new ChatGPT 4.5 is awesome, side note. But even the older models, you just put in like an email you're about to send. If it's a really long one, really important email, just be like, you know what, just analyze this for me. And it's like, it's good, but I would just say the way you said this. And it's like, I didn't think of that. I don't always take it as suggestions, but there are things that I missed just in my own unconscious way of thinking and my blind spots.
So speaking of ChatGPT 4.5.
Yeah, that's the new one. It just came out last Thursday.
Wonder how long it takes them to figure out what to name it, call it.
Oh, it's so weird. The naming thing is weird. They have ChatGPT 01 and that's more reasoning model. And then there's 03 and 03 mini. It's like the names, I don't know. It's like become an internet meme. Like the naming system on whatever the frick they're doing is so messed up.
So when you come out, like right now, 4.5, does that mean all the ChatGPTs prior to that are gone and you can't access them?
When you have, so if you have the paid version, you just select up at the top on the app, it just says model. And you can select any model you want.
Can you slide in and out of using different models?
Yeah. Different ones you like 01, and it's so weird. 01, to my understanding, is better at like complex reasoning. Where 4.5 is more like an overall like writing assistant, creative assistant, thoughtful thing, researcher. And it's weird. It's a weird
What does that mean, reasoning in the AIs?
So
how does that show up?
So like, for example, if you typed in something, we would actually see it's called chain of thought reasoning, and you would see its thought process. So if you ask it a question, be like, well, let me think, like, say that, what did Gabby and Elijah talk about on their last episode? And it's like, well, let me review. So Gabby Reece, she's a volleyball player, and Elijah, he did this stuff. So they talked about this, but they talked about this, and it just, you see, but it types it all out. It's showing you its thought process.
It's like going to lunch with my friend Nancy. I called you Nancy. Nancy's my friend who has a beautiful bakery called Phone Nuts. And when she orders food, try to guess what denomination she was raised. Well, is that good? Should I get that on the side? Was the bread? Is the crust crispy? Is it whatever? So it's really like, I always say, do I have to be a part of your thinking process? Could I just not hear the final thought? Like, I'll have the pastrami on rye with the mustard on the side. Instead of the 19 questions.
Chain of thought reasoning. You're like, Nancy, I'd like it. I like the 4.5.
I would just like the 4.5. But is it more like that?
Yeah.
Where literally it's like kind of telling you how it arrives?
Literally, no. You watch it and it types out in like almost like a subtler font, and then it deletes once the actual prompt comes, but it shows you its thought process.
Oh, interesting.
And that's the same thing with this new DeepSeek thing people might have heard of. It shows you its chain of thought reasoning. Yeah.
Okay, you brought it up. Let's not leave it on the table. Okay, so DeepSeek, when I was looking it up, they talked about frugal innovations, right? How that basically they did it for a fraction of the cost, and maybe we shouldn't sneeze at it. What do you think about it now that where are we at? Like 3 weeks? How long has it been out?
I think about 3 weeks,
Yeah. And does this have to do with, I never say it right. I'm sorry. Huawei. Like, I know that we have NVIDIA chips, and then you have Huawei has some kind of enhanced AI chips. Something's happening there. Is this connected to DeepSeek at all? Do we know?
Possibly, we don't know.
Okay.
There is a limitation on the chips that the NVIDIA and American companies are allowed to send to China, that we're not allowed to give them the most powerful chips, because we want to stay the leader.
But we use all their phones and everything they make. I love that.
No, we don't. We don't use Huawei phones. They're banned over here.
No, we don't use their phones, but we make electronic products that they create.
You mean that they're built over there?
Yeah. I mean, it seems ridiculous to me. Like, we pretend there's some kind of like secret and this and that, but meanwhile, I've got a spy right in my phone 24/7. Come on. Don't you think? Or are you still a believer in like...
Well, I don't know. This is part of the big question that people are asking. They're saying, wait, if they did this for this, do they actually have more of these chips than we know? Are they getting access to Blackwell and some of the higher end GPTs?
What'd you call it?
GPUs. Blackwell is like NVIDIA's, I think, maybe they just released a new model, but Blackwell was like the highest GPU chip that NVIDIA was making for a while. I think there's now a new one.
And who would use that? Like all of them, like ChatGPT and Anthropics, all those groups would be using these chips?
Highest and probably crazier stuff than we can imagine. Like Elon building this giant data center. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's like a crazy compute cluster out in the desert. It was thought to be impossible, and he did it within like 4 months. Anyway, I know we're going all over the place.
Sorry.
With this, yeah, but simple answer to the DeepSeek thing is, so when OpenAI trained ChatGPT, I think it cost them about $100 billion to train the model on all the, so you had this trained, very intelligent model. The claim and what tanked the market, the stock market, the American stock market for all these, NVIDIA, all these different tech companies, the claim was that DeepSeek trained the entire model for $6 million.
But was it taking the experience of the $100 billion process of training and just came in later to the game and somehow could condense that process?
No one really knows. That is one of the possibilities, but that's not that simple to do it as you might think, because you don't have.
I don't think it's simple. I can't even believe I'm trying to even talk about it.
No, it's all so like that's one possibility. Another possibility is they're straight up lying. Like they could just just be saying we did it for less, but they actually spent a lot more.
Oh, okay.
That's Sachs, I think, was saying that on
like
All
this
In.
whole thing. That's what we say. Like,
yeah.
This whole thing?
This is nothing. Oh no, that was nothing. It could be. We don't know. That's a possibility. The other possibility is that they have access to more GPUs than we know. And then another possibility is that they actually did do that and they figured out a way to make it more efficient, which is something that even if it's not true, I think Chamath, again, on All In, we're talking about these guys because they're the best, some of the best. He was saying one of the things that this represents is that a lot of these companies are just overfunded, because when you're starved and you're in a place where you have to innovate, then you do. And I actually had this Orson Welles quote that used to be my screensaver on my phone forever. And it just said, the enemy of art is the absence of limitations. And it's like, when you're put in a corner where you don't have the resources, you get creative and you do something different. And that's not something to ignore. So even if they are lying, and even if it costs way more, and all these things, or even if they have GPUs, whatever, it's all possible. That's still something to pay attention to.
So what is okay, so DeepSeek, did you mess around with it at all?
Yeah. Well, actually, I use it through Perplexity, which is this, search engine.
Yeah.
It's
you can't do it through Google?
Well, no, you can get the DeepSeek app. I just don't trust China. So I'd like my spyware American.
I see.
So, yeah.
How does that vary once you get the app versus in Perplexity over?
Well, Perplexity is using the model. So it's going through their servers, where if I don't have the app directly downloaded on my phone.
I see.
That's who knows?
How was the easy use?
It's very easy to use. Talk about chain of thought reasoning. That thing takes forever, but it's great.
Oh, really?
It shows you all, it just gives you, it's a really thoughtful model. It has a lot to say, but yeah, it really works.
That's Kava barking in the background, everyone.
Yeah. So anyway, so I played with it through Perplexity, which again, side note, it's so interesting having looked back on our conversations over the last 2 years, however long we've been talking about this on the podcast. When we started talking about Perplexity, I think it was valued at a $30 million company or something. And now it's
Did you say 30 million?
It was it was a small little startup that was doing AI search. Now it's a $5 billion company that, Jeff Bezos and everyone has invested in. It's the future of them. It's just so interesting looking back on a lot of the things we've talked about. It's oh yeah. And Anthropic, all these things.
Is there anything faster or slower than you thought? Did something happen quicker than you thought? And did something that you thought was going to happen not happen yet?
Absolutely. I would have to kind of take a second and really give you a thorough answer. Things that immediately come to mind is this idea of agents, AI agents. Mm-hmm. It was really, everyone, most of the people that listen to talk in the industry would talk about last year, their agents are going to be coming online, and they really haven't. The new ChatGPT has a version of it, but I do think that's going to be a big deal. And what that means is it's much more of a co-pilot, where it's you're okay, schedule this thing, set this up, do this meeting, and it knows your whole calendar, emails, it has access to all your stuff, it knows your preferences, knows your writing style, and it's doing stuff on your behalf, and you're collaborating with it as opposed to just being its straight director. It could, check with you probably in the beginning, at least be hey, just want to make sure you want this flight booked, you like this seat, you prefer window aisle, whatever, these are the best.
Wait, how does that work exactly?
Well, how technical?
Let's go. Because I think I have to go. I went to Houston a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
So how do I say I would like an aisle seat, Houston around this time in the afternoon, and I need to come home at this time and that date?
I bet, I don't know. Let's try with the new 4.5.
Can they get you better rates?
Well, yeah, they should. What I'm about to do is ChatGPT 4.5 on the paid plan. So we're going to see what happens. In general, there are other apps that are just tailored to finding the best rates for flights, for example, or hotels or whatever. Let's see. Find me a flight from LA to Houston that leaves in the afternoon. I prefer aisle seats over windows, and find the best price available leaving on Friday. Let's see what I've never tried it. So let's see.
This is in ChatGPT 4.5?
This is on ChatGPT 4.5.
Okay.
So it's thinking. I don't even know if it does this, but
what about these AI assistants?
Oh my God.
Oh gosh, what is it?
Wow. It did it. And what? It broke down all the options with the seats available, the price in it, but it listed them not just by price, because it's Spirit Airlines it lists them in the order of what they'd recommend.
Who are they?
Or I don't. I mean, it's brain. It's like there's the Spirit flight for like 120, but I actually recommend this United flight. It's 150, but like it departs at this time.
What more on time and?
Well, it's not Spirit where you have to pay to.
Did you ever? Oh my God, Spirit.
Anyway, that's cool.
Does it give you access? Like, can you hit a link and go straight to the
all
thing?
links right there. Yeah.
Huh.
Just saying. But
what? Oh, okay. All right. So if somebody said, okay, that's it. I know I need to utilize this as a tool to make me more efficient and actually offload some of the things that are time consuming to free me up to do either more work or that's very American of me, isn't it? So you can work more or actually just spend time doing the things you want to do. How about that idea?
Be more efficient.
Yeah. Be more efficient.
Yeah.
Have more free time to do whatever you would like. Not work more, people. Yeah. How do you suggest, because you even said, they get to know your writing style and all that. Is that done through time and prompts? No, say it more casually. I like to be friendly, but yet somehow still professional and formal, even in my work emails. Like, how do you go about really getting your legs under you on how to utilize this, a tool that reflects still you?
So there's two questions there. I'm just going to answer the simple one first, the practical one, and I can answer the bigger one. The simple one about the memory thing. In ChatGPT, for example, you tell it, you say, okay, here's a sample of my writing style. Every time I say rewrite something in my tone, I want you to remember this style. Like this is an example of my style. And you can give it as much as you want. And it will say, okay, memory updated. And it will then remember your style. And you can teach it. Like you can like train a whole book on like, Naval, take like an almanac of Naval Ravikant and be like, all right, reread this, but think like Naval. And how would Naval say? And it'll be like, all right, memory updated. So every time you say think like Naval, you can tell I've done that.
Interesting.
Anyway, but to your larger point, which is actually such a valuable question, it's just start engaging with these things. Like this is what you were talking about earlier about the fear of the unknown. It's like, no, we all stop.
Do you have to get the paid model for it to really work?
Nope, not anymore.
You don't?
Nope. I would recommend it, but you do not. Okay. Any of them, whatever one it's really Anthropic's Claude, Google Gemini, ChatGPT. Then there's a bunch of others, but like any one of those, pick which one you prefer and just start messing with it because it's really learning how to talk to it. And then watch YouTube videos or read articles, however you prefer to consume information, but just learn. It's like, wait, how do I prompt better? Prompt is like what you type into the thing. It's essential. It's like the amount of time that you spend learning is, I would roughly guesstimate potentially 100x in your efficiency to get stuff done if you are learning and doing this stuff, because it's so ridiculously powerful what we're able to do with these things that are in our pockets and on our computers.
Is there a program, like if you have, I don't know what's going on with one of my emails, something got released somewhere and I can't tell you how much spam and, the stock market's going to crash and the real estate and, your iCloud needs to get updated, like all kinds of BS.
Yeah.
Is there anything where you can have it go through and scrape because, you unsubscribe, you block, you do all this stuff. I stopped doing that because it takes so time consuming.
Yep.
So I just delete it all and it's much faster than unsubscribing.
Yep.
It takes too much time. Is there anything out there that can scrape my emails and only give me the stuff that somehow I want?
So before I answer, which I was about to be like, oh yeah, there's this. Watch this. This is what we all should use.
But what are you on right now? What are you doing?
This is ChatGPT.
Okay.
Just be like, hey, I'm looking for a program. I'm getting one of my emails got hacked. There's a bunch of spam that's coming through. And instead of going through all of it, is there a program that I could upload or put my email through that would just unsubscribe me from all the spam emails and help me filter out my inbox in a much more efficient way? But by the way, you heard how just natural you can talk to it, and there's ums and and just.
Yeah, no, I always watch you because I'm always like, he's acting like he's talking to a friend of his.
Exactly. See, yeah.
Laird looks the other side of his head. He's always like, what's the Laird doing?
What about when we got the thing to talk pigeon to Laird? That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Yes, there's clean email, automatically unsubscribe from unwanted emails in bulk. Clean.email. There's links. Supports Google, Outlook, Yahoo, many others. There's unroll.me. Identifies your subscriptions and click unsubscribes. You click mails from. Anyway, there's an entire thing. Do you want me to just copy this whole thing and send it to you?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's Yeah, there's a bunch of options.
Okay, great.
So anyway, I just, instead of recommending something, it was like, just ask it. Cause that's the thing. Just engage with it and just start playing around for all this stuff. And for even things that you wouldn't think to ask it for, or ask it to give you suggestions of what to ask it for. If you're like, I don't know where to start, ask it. We're like, yo, I'm new to this. What do you recommend?
I can see some new parent in their late 20s with a screaming 2-year-old trying to get ChatGPT. Just joking.
I did when I was with my brother's kids. I did get it to tell. I used the voice when I got it to tell like a bedtime. It was like a bedtime story about like I used the kids' names and like incorporated it and like things that they liked in like but in an Australian accent, like because their mom,
like their grandma and their mom.
Exactly. And so it started going, and they were so enthralled. They were so into it.
Was that hard for you to admit to me right now?
No, it was just I got in trouble because
why'd you get? Oh no, technology.
My brother and his wife were like, "You should have asked us. We don't want them using technology." And I was like, okay, I'm sorry. I thought it was funny.
That's pretty great. When I was a kid, we had these books that you could mail away for. Did you ever have these? My Aunt Norette made it. I thought it was the greatest thing ever. This is like 1975. And you could give the child's name and their best friends' names and the location. So the bird flew and picked me up on Lindenhurst, in the town on 43rd Street in Lindenhurst. And her friend Danielle and Gabrielle, my friend I grew up with, Danielle Salzano, and like did this whole thing. And I remember reading that book and just being like, whoa. So I can imagine the power of that.
Yeah. And then you can adapt on the fly because like with the new thing, you can interrupt it. You're like, wait, but all of a sudden then like there was a blue ball that came rolling out the door. It's like as you throw the blue ball into the room and just,
I was listening to something about a woman who was trained in the CIA about resilience. And there was 2 things that really stood out to me. One was if you can be easily upset, then you're easily influenced, right? Mm-hmm. And so when people have all this outrage, that they're actually highly, you can influence them, like they're easy to influence their opinions because they're reactive and all of these things. And the other thing that she said that I thought was really important, and I just think these points feel important in this day of technology where you just said, for example, I can tell a story and then get it however I want. I can order a pair of shoes online and design them exactly the way that I want them. The other thing that she said was, we're not special. There's something really important, I think, about loving yourself and hopefully having just enough people who love you and simultaneously all along going, I'm not special. Because sometimes working from that place, because everything technology is set up is in a way customizable. It's always about you, what you want, where you want to go, what you want to order, where you want to eat. And I think if we can house this idea of, hey, this is a cool tool that will just make my life more convenient and more productive or more efficient, that's great. But to do it from a place almost of humility, because then it is a tool. If somehow I get everything how I want. I think sometimes then we get these rude awakenings when we run into, be it challenges or things, other people in our lives that think their needs and wants are special as well. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's both, right? Yeah.
But I mean, you said if you use it that way, then it is a tool. I think it's a tool regardless. But it's
a runaway train in certain places.
Well, there's a term called hedonic adaptation.
Okay, there you go.
You know what I mean? You just get so used to it. And it's like, why is there no Wi-Fi on this airplane? You mean the giant metal tube flying through the sky at 500 miles an hour and you can't connect to the satellites? Like, and you're, you know.
But you are watching your movie and eating your snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
This is all I'm saying is like, as we go up in the one, I just feel, because at some point we're going to be running into each other.
Yep.
We're going to be running into like things that happen in life that don't always go as planned, which is most of the time.
Yep.
And so I want people to use these tools, because if you don't, I think it's going to become a difficult world to live in unless you completely pull the ripcord you Atlas shrugged it and you go back to the farm and you disappear, great. Yeah. That's fine. But if you really think you're going to play in this world, I do think your point of experimenting, I don't care if you're 75 years old, get it, just dibble dabble.
If you're alive right now. I mean, I heard someone say this and it's just really hit me. They were like, AI is a telescope for the mind. And like, just like in the way that the telescope, when we look through the telescope, we realized that the universe was so much vaster and there was so much more out there than we could ever imagine. Mm-hmm. It's like AI, I think, is starting to allow us, and will definitely continue to really allow us to realize that intelligence and the mind is so much broader and more expansive. And there's so much more out there than we ever imagined. Even to Freeberg's point about like building underwater cities. Yeah.
Well, what about the telepathy tapes?
I haven't dove into it. I've been told by like 3 people, including Larry the other night. I was like, all right, I gotta do it.
Well, it's unbelievable. The woman who, I guess she's the director, Kai, she was on, I listened to her on Rogan, but I had listened to 3 of the episodes. I mean, that's the thing, is maybe if you want to talk about the quantum realm or wherever, it's like maybe we've always been expansive and it's always been unlimited. It's just, we've never been able to really experience that. Only a few of us. And I don't put myself in that category. I mean, I have moments of like, I felt that. I was instinctive. But I mean,
you also hear people's thoughts sometimes.
Barely, but occasionally.
On more than one occasion, I've seen that happen.
But when you hear this, we're speakers. They're the non-speakers, right? Yeah. I mean, they think like we're probably so ridiculous to them because we're bound by our bodies. So going back to spirit and body, I would encourage anyone who has the time to listen to the telepathy tapes. I think it's inspiring, but it shouldn't be mind-blowing because I think it's probably been common for a really, really long time, but it's pretty incredible. And what the woman who put the project together says is like, once you see it after a while, it's like almost like, okay. Not only can they sort of read your thoughts. Let's say they give an example of a child who's close to a teacher or a parent. They can read their thoughts, but then it gets to a point where they can actually see what you're seeing.
Right.
And they're in a different room. And maybe the parent doesn't even know what they're looking at, but the child who's seeing through their parent's eyes does. So it's pretty expansive in that way.
Yeah.
All right, let's get back to technology. What else is showing up that you are excited about or you think is worth noting?
Oh man, I don't even know, before we made like specific, check out this and check out this. And it's more just about engage with it because there's so much out there right now that there's pretty much something for everything. And I think it's just a matter of you can none of us have the option to sit on the sidelines unless you really, like you said, just want to go peace out, no internet, no nothing, go.
Which is cool, by the way.
Full on, full send, go.
Because that's going to happen too.
Absolutely.
Don't kid yourself.
I do, absolutely. That is correct.
Do you think, is ChatGPT the easiest one to get your hands on, you think?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
In your opinion?
I think so. And they got this like, I don't know if you know, the Stargate deal. Haven't dove into it enough, but it's like they got like $500 billion from
what?
Yeah, Trump like set this whole thing up. He was, Masayoshi's son from
So
the
guy who raised $100 billion faster than anyone, but then it didn't work out so good.
Well, no, it's working back for him now. It's working out. I mean, I think he became the richest man in the world for like some period of hours, like in the early 90s or late 90s, early 2000s, and then like lost it all, but then like made it all back again. Like this dude is just he's called the Vision Fund. That's the new thing. Anyway,
yes.
So like there was, I don't know, it was like a month or two ago, there was this press conference and he's like, I'm committing $100 billion. And Trump's like, well, you know what? Why not like make it 2? And he's like, and he kind of laughs and like comes back later. He's like, actually, I make it 500 billion. And it's just like, these numbers are like, it's almost like it's hard to wrap your mind around. Like, what are we talking about? Anyway, so this thing is called Project Stargate and like Larry Ellison is part of it. But OpenAI is, I believe, the main.
I'm off those guys now. I'm sorry.
Well, OpenAI is ChatGPT, let's be clear.
Okay, well then I'm off. Because
Because
the way it started.
oh yeah, trust me. We've talked about it on the show.
Yes,
Yeah,
the way it started. For those of you, most
Yeah.
everybody knows
Yeah.
if you know anything about this. Elon Musk. It was supposed to be open.
That's why he
hence
named
the
it.
name.
Yeah.
And now it's basically Microsoft, correct?
It's not no, it's not Microsoft, but it should be called closed.
Oh, and
AI.
he wasn't getting paid, and then you find out. I mean, there's so much sketchy stuff.
There's
and
a
what
lot.
about the kid who passed away?
That's nothing. Yeah.
Can we talk about that since I don't just floating it out?
Yeah. I don't know enough about it. You can say what you say.
Well, I was reading an article about it, actually, and then I saw the mom on Tucker Carlson talking. Her son supposedly committed suicide the day after he came back from a birthday trip, and he had other things on his calendar, but he had quit working over.
He was a whistleblower.
Yes, I know. Yeah. And so he is no longer with us, and it all seems pretty sketch.
Yeah, it's so strange because I remember it was like, again, 2 years ago, we were talking about like, because David Sachs and they were blowing the whistle on Sam Altman. Like, I don't trust this guy, like something about he's sneaky, he's a trillionaire, da da da. And I was like, oh, be cautious of Sam. And then I hear Eric Weinstein, who's one of the most brilliant people, in my opinion, in the world. And he's like, no, I know Sam and I really like Sam, like personally. And it's just kind of like, hold on, because
I know
that helps.
He has a lot of discernment.
That holds
obviously.
a lot of weight in my head when I hear
course.
Eric say something like that. So I really don't know what's happening behind the scenes. I think it's just stranger than we can imagine.
Yeah, but that kid is gone.
That kid is gone.
I mean, he was like 26.
That kid is gone. Well, no, it's not nothing. And that he was, I think this is the little bit I know about the story, was that he was part of the training data sets, which is the stuff that they're in the lawsuit right now with New York Times and others about training on data that was illegal for them to train on without permission. And he was blowing the whistle about that. So it's not like there was no motive. But again, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's so interesting. So my feeling still is, I know my life is going to be more efficient using AI, but the things that deeply impact me day to day have nothing to do with it.
When the things that deeply impact you, because they're human things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
I love when things run smooth and it's efficient.
Yeah.
But when I really pay attention to the things that just, they hug your heart or make your brain light up, it's still not the stuff that plugs into the wall.
Okay, this is a strange little pushback because I get where you're coming from. What are you getting,
a girlfriend, like AI girlfriend?
No. Which is but it's crazy. That marketplace is booming.
Of course.
But no. It's
porn and war drives everything.
Right. But no, it's just to point out that like sometimes for me, those little moments that light my heart up is getting a voice note on my phone from somebody that I love, or like a text that just is so meaningful. Like
I can hear that,
and it's like
when I FaceTime one of the girls and they're far away.
Exactly.
Okay.
That stuff does plug into a wall.
That's definitely heard.
But listen, it's the people. People are everything. We are in complete agreement.
So
with that.
It's that moment that you use it to actually connect with a person,
which is what matters. It's just like, how can we? Either like we've always talked about, how can we use this to connect more?
Okay. Yeah. I do have one other question. So you talk about like 500 billion and $1 trillion and all this money, right?
Huh.
And yet, what I'm trying to understand as a simple person is, there's people who are falling further behind. There's more, unhealthy, unhappy, mentally, depressed, less, more isolated, feeling more lonely people. And so this is the other part for me that is I don't know where this remedies, because we'll throw dollars at, going up into space and computational power. But yet there are parts that we're leaving behind that this is where I'm curious.
And I think that the answer might be in that. It might be in the computational power. It might be because, Freeberg's thing about ask it how to make underwater cities, go way bigger. Ask it how to evenly distribute wealth across the world that in a way that doesn't de-incentivize people to work. Let's get creative with the questions we're asking this thing. If we can literally ask this whatever we want, if this is the ultimate machine or ultimate, like all of those questions, okay, there's all these people feeling less connected, everything you just described, phrase it into a question, give me 10 solutions. If this is what $500 billion is going to power to build something that will actually give us real actionable, practical steps, let's fucking go.
We're definitely from different generations. It's like, because I hear you and I'm like, huh. And in my mind, I'm like, what the fuck? Just get some water, clean water and food and feed people and make lunch at school for real. Like, take some of this money and do some basic shit that they just don't somehow never have money for. That, like, for example, you look at how they eat lunch in Japan at the schools there.
Or France.
I mean, come on. It's not that expensive. And yet, you know what I mean? Like, I understand the politics between being unwell and all that, but I'm just saying past that. Like, we're talking about, like, let's solve humanity's problems. But meanwhile, I'm like, yeah, let's value some of the basic things.
Well, so here's another way I see that we could use it to do such, because obviously there's some bureaucracy, insanity, corporation takeover that's got us to the place where in the most, extraordinary country potentially in the history of the world is like feeding kids these like frozen tater tots for like in public school. So there's something wrong there. Yeah. But instead of just being like, we need to fix that, it's like, that's just a little Band-Aid on a giant bullet wound. Let's figure out a way. Okay, ask the thing. How can we fix this from the root level, where whatever was incentivized to create this system to begin with can still have its needs met, and we're not poisoning kids and every citizen. Potential.
How can we feed greed and still take care of humans?
Well, okay, no. It's not that we feed greed. It's that obviously there's some powerful infrastructure in place that got us to this point. And like to just say we're gonna blow that up and just like give the kids clean food, like. Again, I still think that greed is going to come out in a different form. That's why I'm saying the Band-Aid on the bullet wound, because it's like we need to address the root thing. So that greed, whatever that mechanism that got us to this point was, we have to address that first. And while addressing that, the outcome being that these kids get clean water, incredibly healthy, like nutrient dense food. Well, what I'm saying? Yeah. So these are the things that I'm like, let's ask. Like,
interesting.
Yeah.
It's almost like the humans, we can't handle it, so we got to get the machines to do it. It's pretty funny.
Do you remember Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yes.
Do you know where I'm going with this? Mm-hmm. Remember the ultimate machine? And it's like, they built it and they're just like, what is the answer of life? And they can use all this time. And she goes, the answer, and everyone's waiting across the world. And the answer is 42. And they're like, what? Like, what does that mean? They go, no. You know, like the machine says, the answer is not what you're looking for. The greatest thing is the question. And they're like, well, okay, well, what's the question of life? I was like, oh, you need a much bigger machine to answer that. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's all about the questions we're asking these things. It's the questions. It's how are we going to use it? Not just like book my flight to Houston. It's like, how do we solve the water crisis, or what? Like, how do we build underwater cities, or how do we levitate? I'm just like, let's think way bigger.
Okay. We'll see, Elijah.
We'll see.
I mean, I won't see all the way through. Neither will you. I'll see some.
You'll see. I mean, like,
I still think, yeah.
You'll see.
If the AI could understand the concept of love, that would make me feel a little more at ease. But I don't think.
Well, that to me is that idea of the AI being a telescope for the mind. That's where I see that leading. Is that because, they say, we're going to create machines that are conscious. We don't even understand what consciousness is. So how can you tell me when something is conscious or not if we don't understand our own consciousness? Mm-hmm. Same thing with love. I mean, we can know and describe a feeling and have this internal experience. And there's, I don't know the answer, but I do think that the telescope for the mind, whether the mind is a radio receiver or the mind is actually a generator, mm-hmm. Love is somewhere in that equation. And let's see what this telescope sees with that.
Okay. You almost got me to be quiet.
Okay. Talking about love is so random. It's just because you said okay like that. Remember Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind?
Yeah.
It was one of do you remember how the movie ended? Spoiler alert, if you've not seen the movie, I'm about to ruin it for you. Do you remember it at the end?
I don't know. The van running?
No, so Kate Winslet and Jim Carrey, they're this couple, they keep meeting each other and falling in love. And there's a service that deletes your memory of a person because they love each other, and they get in these fights and it's just so terrible, and then they break up and they want each other deleted. So they've deleted each other multiple times. And finally at the end, one of the nurses sneaks them their tapes because they've re-met again, like for the 4th or 5th time, and gives them the tapes of them talking about why they hate together. So this is the first time they've met in this new memory, and they're driving in the car and they put on the tape, and it's a tape of them saying, what I hate about her, she does this and that. And I hate that he does this and that. And they're like, what's going on? They can't figure it out. And they finally realize like they've deleted each other from their memory, and they're sitting there, and he's like, well, what are we going to do? She's like, well, this is not going to work because you're going to think that I'm this and I'm that, and I'm going to feel like this way and this way about you. And it's just going to be terrible. And he just sits there and he's all quiet, and he just goes, okay. And she just goes, okay. Because obviously there's so much love there that's drawn them to each other for this many times. And they're like, even though they upset each other this much, it's just like, okay, like, okay. I'm not sure exactly why we were talking about love, and the way you said, okay, I was just like, it's just such a beautiful moment in a movie.
Yeah.
A little out of context, but it's a great scene.
Anything scare you that's come up?
In the world?
No, we're not going there.
Okay, what are you talking about?
I am not going there right now.
What are we talking about?
I'm trying to encourage people to get off the couch, move their bodies. I don't want to make them get flat on their bed right now with a nap and some bonbons. No.
Scare me how?
No, just anything that just seems like it's out. Like the DeepSeek, was that sort of like, did that make it you?
No, but I have an incredible story about it that I didn't tell you. This is some shit. Wow. I'm just going to say it.
Okay.
It's amazing. So I followed somebody on Twitter that does a Nancy Pelosi stock tracker.
Oh, yeah.
And they track Nancy Pelosi's trades because, she knows some things.
She's like 200% or better than I'm joking, like 25% better than the best investor out of New York.
Yeah.
Whatever,
right? Somehow she has, she makes like 200 grand or whatever.
Her husband's super smart.
So yeah, she's worth like 200 something million. So whatever. Yeah. Anyway, so I've been following this Nancy Pelosi stock tracker. I've, been working with NVIDIA for almost 10 years because through VR and stuff. So I've had some NVIDIA stock, and, it's been, doing really well, and it's been amazing what's happened, especially with the AI boom. And it was like about a month ago or something, I just saw it on the Nancy Pelosi tracker. I don't check it all the time. It just randomly popped up. It said, and Nancy Pelosi sold all of her NVIDIA shares. And I was like, what? That was weird. And I looked at it and I was like, I made some good money on this. I was like, I don't need to be greedy. So I sold all my shares. The next day, DeepSeek came out and tanked the market. The next day. Yeah. And I was just like, whew. I mean, it's recovered, but it has not come back to where it was when I saw it. And I'm just like,
interesting.
Okay. So anyway, when you say the DeepSeek scared me, no, I was amazed. Thank you, Nancy Pelosi stock tracker. Yeah. But no, that kind of stuff, that doesn't scare me because it's innovation. And, again, these tools, hammers can hit someone in the head or build a bridge.
Yeah.
But, and this is times a billion or a trillion in this case, maybe with the power of these tools. But I do think that especially innovation in regards to intelligence, I hope intelligence is a good thing.
Okay. So to wrap this up, as a reminder to people, there is a free version of ChatGPT, even though it's from the traders of OpenAI.
There's a free version of Claude. There's a free version of Google Gemini. I'm pretty sure.
What's it? Grok?
Elon's Grok. That one Grok. You do actually, I think, have to be a paid.
And it's got like 8 versions of the personality.
The voice mode does, yeah.
Yeah, but it's like kind of feisty one.
Grok is off the rails.
Really?
Grok has no limit. Grok is on some other stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we want to encourage you. If there was one way that people could use AI right now, regardless of their job, if they're single, if they're, younger, older, what do you think is a really easy way? And I'm not talking about suggestions on your Netflix, that they could use it that maybe they hadn't thought of. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, well, first, it's your first point you made earlier that we're all using it all the time. And originally, we were just calling it machine learning.
Yeah.
But like any smart assistant, algorithm recommendation, any Waze as a GPS, like all of those things. These are all AI. We were just calling it machine learning, but this is the same thing. So, to your earlier point, we're doing it all the time. Are you saying like?
No, just like a cooler way, like we were talking about the flights earlier, booking dinner. I'm just trying to think of ways that would be really a time alleviator for people.
So because it's such a broad question, you're saying it to like everybody. I think it's more of a mental model. And you should just try and think of it as you have a digital assistant in your pocket that you can talk to and ask things of. And see if that works for your life.
If it lands for you.
Yeah. A digital assistant that is just there on call 24 hours a day, and they are totally free. Maybe it's just that because it's impossible to be like, oh, everyone should just try this. It's like such a wide demographic. It's just maybe that mindset shift of, okay, I have someone who's working with me and for me on call in my pocket anytime. See what that shift in mindset does.
Okay.
Maybe. Huh.
I just think about like art, writing, movies.
Yeah.
It's just interesting.
I think I said it before, but I really feel like the role of the artist is increasingly becoming the role of the curator, where it's like it's still about taste, because if it gets to a point where anybody can just make anything by clicking a button, it's still going to come down to the person curating what that thing you're seeing is. And that's still valuable. And taste, and refining your taste and finding things that resonate with people and telling the stories that you want to see and hear and feel. And if that resonates with enough other people that want to see and hear and feel that, cool things are going to happen.
Fair enough. I ran into a guy at the grocery store the other day whose son went to school on a full scholarship for gaming.
Wow.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
What game?
And that's old. Like, they've been doing that for like 8 years.
What game was he
Full
playing?
Scholarships. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. I want to know what game.
Like they have teams. These schools have teams.
Yeah.
So if you have a kid who's on their devices, I don't know.
You're like, you know what? Maybe don't discourage
I'm just saying,
them.
that's like full on.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Been for years now, too. Yeah. All right, Elijah Allen-Blitz. Elijah, remind people all the places they can find you, just so if they want to reach out to you.
Elijah, I think it's Elijah AB. Yeah, most of the stuff is Allen-Blitz. People get confused how to spell it. Yeah. But I don't know. That's it.
You want to tell people as we come out of the show your full given name, please?
Oh, wow. Yeah. On my birth certificate, it says Elijah Benjamin Rama Alicia Groucho Woody Allen-Blitz.
There you go.
That is the case.
You know what I was thinking of too? We saw, everyone, Elon Musk has become kind of sort of a polarizing character or whatever.
Yeah.
Laird said something that I really appreciated, and it made me think about this. If somebody is willing to risk their reputation, their life for something they believe in, whether you agree 100% with it or not, that you have to look at. And I thought that was an interesting point.
Yeah.
So as we're all polarizing, maybe we could, Brody called me today. I can share this. Yeah. My daughter, who's a senior in high school, who's good friends with Elijah, she called me and she was sharing something with me. And she said she met these girls. And she said one of them had very different views to hers. And she appreciated the fact that they could talk about it and the girl was never upset about it. She goes, you know how unusual that is? And I thought, to be a senior in high school and to be aware that if we can do that, we're going to be learning and keep our minds open, and the willingness to change our mind or to see it differently, I thought was really great.
Yeah, that's cool.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you for listening. And you know what? Be curious, be experimental, have fun with it. And if it's intimidating, if you have a person in your life that can maybe test it with you the first few times, I think it is helpful.
Go for it. You got to. I really think it's one of those things. If you want to engage with the world in any way, if you want to use a device that plugs in any capacity, I think this is going to make everything more efficient.
I love that word.
That's why I chose that one.
I know you did. It's so functional.
No. So much more engaging. No, efficient, man.
Right, thanks, Elijah.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone, for spending some time with me. Hopefully you got something out of it. If you did, feel free to share it with your friends. And don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, I want to hear from you. Tell me what's working, what's resonating with you, and how you're getting it done. Keep going.